Hey, welcome back to Shea Butter Chanel. So it shows me that it's been a week since I made a long form video for you, and I just really despise making videos just cause, unless I have something substantial to say. So here is your next lesson. I believe this is lesson 16 out of 46 years of life. Lesson 16 is derived from this past week experience, and it just really brought things home. This past week, I was catering a big holiday order, okay? And couple feelings were going through that. I am brand new in the grand scheme of things to catering. And although I did a really big order in the last couple of months, but catering for the holidays for me just brought a whole bunch of anxiety to the table. And quite frankly, I had my doubts about myself. And ever since I won second place in the pitch contest last year, I've just had a bunch of doubt in my ability to execute a food business. Like, I did popcorn before this, but to do a full food business with actual meals was daunting to me because I don't know it like that. And so I had my doubts. And what was so fascinating to me is because if you look at my posts, when I cook from my heart. It's not to be braggadocious. It's not to be competitive. But I do know that posts attracts eyeballs. And I think when people see you posting, they build their confidence in you too. Because they're like, oh, that looks good. And I like the way people, I think, primarily buy from you because they like you. And you build trust over time. And so I don't take that for granted. And so every time somebody books me, in this particular space, I always have a seat of doubt. Like, am I going to be able to execute to their expectation? I really pray. I pray over the food. I'm like, Lord, make sure no illness comes forward. Make sure that I'm pristine in my process and everything. That everything is sterilized, but also that taste buds would be dancing. So I do want them to enjoy and feel like they really, it was worth what they paid. And the people that pay so much money for me they ordered the full menu. And I was just overwhelmed with what I felt was a big expectation. Okay. And so the lesson out of all of that story, all that background and context, the lesson is I'm not going to preach to you about don't doubt yourself, because I think that's a natural thing, is to feel that feeling. And I can be truly transparent and say doubt or lack of confidence in my thing comes from lack of experience. Because I think the more you do a thing and as you continue, I think a natural confidence should come. So I think it's okay for me to have what they call reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt. So it keeps me humble, if you will. I think they said always, I think it was Biggie or Jay-Z. They were like, treat your 100 gig like your first gig, something like that. And I just hope that I keep that level of humility. But what I'm saying is all of that, the lesson is do it. I think this is kind of added on to my first couple lessons I did for y'all. Is to do it like courage. Better still, courageously go forth. Courageously go forth. I thank God for giving me the unction to be courageous in my own doubt and fear. To be courageous, to execute. And when I think about the other ventures that I've gone forth with, I've had to do that over and over again in my life. Oh, I remember the first time that I was, my friend took me to my very first spoken word open mic. And this was like a day or two before I graduated. So this was like in 2001. Had never been to an open mic set in my life. And I just knew it was poetry. And so I had never performed poetry. I had never practiced the art of spoken word. But I did bring some Nikki Giovanni books. And I said, I just knew that I was going to get up there and I was going to read from the actual book. Okay. And when I got there, I was so amazed. There's a famous poet. If you're from Chicago, everybody knows disco poet Kahari B. I'll never forget. He was hosting an open mic set in the Swift Mansion, I believe, back in the day, early 2000s. Yep. And he got up there, and disco poet, the name is so appropriate for him because he has so much energy and so much vivacity, and it was just like, oh my gosh. And he's performing off books. So I came up in the era of spoken word where you knew your poem when you got up there. Nobody was on these phones, and so the bar was here, and I was like, let me tell you something. I was shook to go up. They called me up there. I was shook to even go up and read somebody else's poem out their book. I was so shook because nobody was getting up there reading from nobody's book. But I remember, but here's what I did. I remember being so inspired, so very inspired by that I wanted to do that. And so I remember, after I graduated, the company I worked for immediately that week sent me to Los Angeles. So there was a gap. I wasn't looking for spoken word sets in Los Angeles at all. I was in LA. So let's just say the better of 2 some years between LA and Europe. I was writing. So by the time I get to Chicago, over 2.5 years later, I couldn't wait to get to the spoken word sets. And so this is after the era of like Love Jones and everything. So the city is a buzz with spoken word. And I remember driving, because I was way out in the north suburbs. I remember driving to the city every weekend, me and my roommate, so I can get on the mic every night. And I just knew that I just wasn't there. I know they said, oh, do it for the love of the art, but I knew that I was a writer. I knew that I was a performer at heart. And so I just remember taking that fear of failure or not always getting the snaps and the claps. I took that with me home and I sharpened. I wrote and kept performing. And dare I say, I got better. I remember when I applied for my first Chicago Artist Grant and didn't get it. I didn't have enough chops and enough resume, and I didn't. And so I remember feeling forlorn about that. But I kept performing another year, and then I went and applied again, and I got it. The thing about the Chicago Artist Grant, you never know who's sitting on that judge board looking at your panels. So I say all that to say is that it could have been people from the community that were well connected or saw me out there grinding for a moment and said, no, we got to put our money behind there. And so I eventually put out my first album. I remember the course. Oh my gosh, throughout my 20s and my 30s and how that built. And so by the time I left Chicago, I had a name for that particular craft. But it began with me with fear and trembling, getting up behind Disco Poet, trying to read a poem by Nikki Giovanni from the book. Oh man, I didn't know nothing then. So I think in my bones, in my knowing, as I endeavor in this food space as a food professional, I know that the more I execute, the better I'll get, but the more confidence that I'll have. So execute and keep doing it. Just keep doing it. That's it. I hope this blessed you on the cusp of December 1st. What is it that you got doubt about? that you know that you're good at, but you know you ain't put your 10,000 hours in. I ain't put no 10,000 hours in it either. In a class, in a certificate, culinary school, no. But at 46, I have cooked a whole bunch, and I've been 12 years a vegan. So we could say it in that aspect. But the catering side of it, and the prepping, and the accuracy of pricing, and the accuracy of prepping food and how much to buy, that is what I am learning. I'm learning that part. Anyway, I hope this blessed you. I don't want to be before you long. Share with me what you're going to execute in the face of doubt. All right, bye for now.